Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ayman El-Zobi. I'm the Senior Manager for the Intra-African Trade and Corporate Finance at African Export-Import Bank. Thank you so much for inviting us. It's really our pleasure to be participating in this event. As you rightly said, this is the second time that we participate, and we really appreciate the opportunity. We appreciate the opportunity to support this big event, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak out and say what Afreximbank is doing, and even claim our rights to declare the kind of things that we contribute to the continent. So I'll go very quickly for all of those on the webinar who does not know much about Afreximbank. I'll go very quickly, give a brief introduction about the bank and what we do and our strategy, and also I'll give an idea about our interventions in the intra-African trade space, whether on the financing side or on the facilitation side. Well, the African Export-Import Bank, we're a multilateral African financial institution that was established in 1994. The main purpose behind establishing the bank is to have a dedicated institution to support trade finance in Africa, intra-African and extra-African trade, in times of crisis, especially in times of crisis. We have right now 51 member African countries of the bank. We have our headquarters in Cairo, Egypt, and we have 4 other branches covering other regions in Africa: East, West, Anglophone and Francophone, South Africa. We're doing a branch to cover Central Africa region, and another one is in the north to cover the Maghreb region. Our strategy is to support intra and extra African trades. The bank 5 years ago took the initiative and said that we need to refocus our direction to more on the promotion of intra-African trade, because this is the way, the regional integration is the way for Africa to develop. We've been, leaning a lot on other continents, but time has come for us to cooperate and work together. And we can do it. We have seen a lot of examples of successful intra-African trade businesses and investments that have contributed a lot to us Africans. So we have a 5-year strategy that hinges around 5 pillars. The main pillar and the arrowhead of our strategy is intra-African trades. And by that we say that we will increase the level of intra-African trade in Africa from its low level of 15 or 16% to something around 22 or 23%. And we do that through financing and facilitation initiatives. The other major important pillar is the export development. We want to focus on export development financing agro-processing zones, like financing industrial parks, bringing value addition to the raw materials in Africa to be exported as manufactured goods. And we do a lot in that space. We've been under this strategy for the past 5 years, and we've supported a lot of African corporates. We've tried to identify key African corporates across Africa that we can call intra-African trade champions. And those are the companies that has the track record, the capacity to do business across Africa. And we've supported them with over $2.5 billion. So far, we've dispersed over $14 billion on intra-African trade business. We have developed a lot of financing instruments, a lot of facilitation initiatives. We're supporting also export trading companies. The way to support relatively smaller industries to export by supporting an export trading company that can assemble all those goods from various producers and export to other African countries. So we're doing a lot in that space, really. We also came up with the Intra-African Trade Fair, which we do biannually. The first one was in Cairo in December 2018. It was very successful. We had over 1,000 exhibitors, more than 7,000 participants, and we've closed transactions and intra-African deals there of over $32 billion. Which was a major success for our first round. The next one will be in Kigali, Rwanda. It was supposed to be this year, but given, of course, the pandemic, we had to postpone it to next year. Hopefully by then the things will have come down to a better shape and be able to hold it successfully once again. So yes, Afreximbank has been there for the major crisis. We've supported the continent at the time of the commodity crisis in 2015 and the FX crisis. We supported a lot of central banks in Africa and financial institutions to give them the right liquidity to support strategic needs. We've also supported the continent now under the pandemic, because we have our pandemic program, under which we financed over $4 billion so far to African countries, to central banks, to governments, to corporates, to mitigate the effects of the pandemic. And we continue. We're also supporting the adoption of the AFCFTA, Free Trade Agreement in Africa. We came up with an adjustment facility that can support African governments and African corporates to give the push to African governments and countries to adopt the FCFTA agreement and remove all trade barriers. So we give them an adjustment facility to help them adjust to the new situation for sectors or certain economies that will be negatively impacted by the adoption of this new free trade agreement. So we're doing a lot in that space, and we'll continue to do more. And we're happy to share that with all of you today. Thank you so much. Now, we strongly believe in the role of the private sector to develop Africa, and we believe in the message that we must support the private sector. And as I said, we look for successful companies across Africa, and we help other companies to emerge as intra-African trade champions. For example, throughout the year, we travel usually, of course, before the pandemic, and meet heads of states and key government officials. In those missions, we bring along our clients, our private sector, big corporates that can offer their services to the governments, and the government to offer their projects and the kind of projects they have. And we do this matchmaking. And we've done a lot in that space. We facilitated contracts between the private sector in Africa and other African governments of over $3 billion over the past 3 years. And we do that in the belief that we must give opportunities to African corporates to compete globally. For example, in Egypt, we have Arab contractors that does construction, and they operate in more than 15 African countries. We've supported them a lot in more than 6 African countries now, and we help them to compete with other Chinese construction companies. We're supporting Dangote of Nigeria. We're supporting OCP in Morocco, the largest phosphate fertilizer. We're supporting El Suidi of Egypt. We supported them in a project in Angola that we were competing against GE, General Electric. So we really believe in the message that we should support the African private sectors to compete globally and take more share of the business in Africa, and also support smaller kinds of business through giving lines of credit to commercial banks to be on lend to those relatively smaller companies. And also we understand that the problem of intra-African trade really lies in the trade information, the lack of trade information. You know, others will talk about the lack of infrastructure, tariffs, and all of that. We know that, yes, those are bottlenecks, those are restrictions, but the main restriction in our view is intra-African trade information availability. So if the information is there, if people in Egypt know what people in Nigeria need, and if Nigeria knows what Egypt produces, then the trade will happen, the connection will happen, the communication will start, and then the infrastructure will follow. And then people will find and establish means for that trade to happen. So we established a desk for trade information advisor services. We meet a lot of companies, private sector, who say we have the capacity, we want to export to West Africa, for example, or to South Africa, but we don't know the market, we don't know the people there, we don't know the opportunities. Can you help us with that? And we do this advice services. We do it from the first stage of doing a simple research on the opportunities, on the availability of the market there, all the way through to doing a joint roadshow for that company in this African market or in this African region to introduce them to the market and the local agencies and so on and so forth. So yes, you're absolutely correct. The support to the Africa private sector is key. Electronic platform that we're trying to establish in collaboration with the African Union and African central banks, that will be a platform, an electronic platform for trade. Not only it will be a platform for people to exchange information and do deals, but also be a clearinghouse. We could be clearing currencies, so that dependency on foreign currency would be very low. So that if you can trade, Tanzania, for example, can trade with Egypt. So Tanzanians can pay in shilling, and the Egyptians can take Egyptian pounds, and we do the clearing in between. So that the reliance on the foreign currency and trade among the Africans goes below the very high levels that we are witnessing now. We launched this in the meeting with the African Union last year with the head of the African Union, but we're doing an official launch in fourth quarter this year, which will be operational. The platform will actually be operational first quarter of this year.